Welcome to episode 8 of the Inside Line podcast presented by Thor. I'm this week's host, Michael Lindsay, and this week's guest is Tyler Bowers. Tyler turned pro a little over 10 years ago for the now defunct YOT effort in 2008. For any amateur rider coming up, this would probably seem like a dream gig at the time to be on factory Yamaha's 250F effort, but as we find out from talking to Tyler, this was not even his original direction, as he had some even bigger opportunities on the table that, due to some unusual rule changes, kind of canceled out and ended up putting him down more of an unusual road that ultimately led him to Arenacross, where he became multi-time champion before putting his foot back into the Supercross and Motocross side of things, where, as with many great talents, injuries come up, things don't go as planned, and amongst that, we talked to Tyler about some of the things that have happened along the way. For me, this is quite a fun one. I've known Tyler personally for quite a few years from my prior job, and amongst all the guys I get to interview, I really consider Tyler one of the easiest people to sit down and have a regular conversation with. Really comes across as somebody that has a good balance in life and just a good, well-rounded personality. So I hope you all enjoy, learn more about his career and some of the interesting things that can come along the way for a professional motocross and supercross rider. As with any episode of the Inside Line podcast, we'd like to thank the people that make this happen. For over 50 years, Thor MX has been at the forefront of motocross racewear innovation with products that are purpose-built to help riders perform at the highest level in one of the most demanding sports in the world. The 2019 collection featuring the revolutionary Prime Pro Racewear is available now. Head to thormx.com to learn more. Also, Chaparral Motorsports has been helping riders outfit their dirt bikes for more than 30 years. Today, Chap Moto offers professional advice, online and in-store, helping you find the best riding gear, parts, accessories, and tires for all your power sports vehicles. Visit chapmoto.com today. Now let's jump into our conversation with Tyler Bowers. You ready?
I guess. You're ready.
As ready as you can be. I guess the easiest place to start is I like going back through guys' results and, you know, kind of remembering where somebody came from. And it's actually really funny, as I was interviewing Osborne a couple months ago, and his beginning time was the same time around yours during a very bad time at YOT. Didn't probably go as well as planned. How'd you end up at YOT in the first place? That was your first pro year was 2008, I believe?
Yeah, it was 08. It was a really interesting story, actually. I was supposed to ride for San Manuel Yamaha that year. Came out and did like a test ride, and everything was going smooth, and supposed to sign with that team on a 450. And then late in the year, that would have been my rookie year, so late in the year we found out you had to get 20 points in the lights class first. So nobody in my corner at the time did their homework and realized that you had to do that. So that deal was kind of out the window, so I had to go to a lights team. They told me to stick with the Yamaha team and just kind of hang around, and I'll have the deal the next year. So I ended up at YOT. At the time, Star was just starting out. Might have been like their second or third year. They were still a little green. YOT was like the premier Yamaha lights team. Chose YOT, and that was their last year. They were like on their way out, so it was kind of definitely a bad move. At the beginning of the year, everything was pretty kosher and everything was working good. Good parts, everything was great, and then like drama with the team, drama with Yamaha and stuff like that, things just started going downhill. Coupled with I was a rookie as well. I was an idiot, thought I knew everything, and so just overall my rookie year was not the most enjoyable. Definitely not the perfect storm. I did okay. I got a few top fives and ended up 5th overall in the East Coast Lights at 16, which was kind of a big deal at the time, but I was largely overshadowed by a guy named Trey Kennard winning the championship that year. So
they had to make a rookie year rule.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Trey, I would look like a superstar. But it was largely my finish, largely overshadowed by Trey's. So it was a little bit rough.
Yeah, for anyone wondering what the bike noise is, we're actually at the Cowie track today. That's how we snagged you. So it's about you sliding around in the mud behind us right now. Weird on the YOT thing. So you were 16. I mean, people probably remember this. You were, like, how big were you at 16? Because you were signing directly to a 450 team.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big guy. When I hit 12 or so, I grew like 4 inches one year, and I was like almost 6 foot, and then I grew another like 3 inches the next year at 13, so it was like 6'2" by the time I was like 13. So my last year on 80s, I was almost 6 foot at Loretta's, running the 7 to 11 class, you know. So I run 7 to 11 mod at Loretta's in 03, and then 2 years later I won the 450B mod title. So yeah, I won 7 to 11 mod in 03, and then 2 years later I won 450B. So like, you know, like pretty big swing. I never ran the super mini class or anything like that. So yeah, I mean at 14 or 15 I was 6 foot tall, 190 pounds. Like I was big, you know. So yeah, I've just been this size forever basically.
Man, I didn't know the Sam Manuel thing. That would have been crazy because I would have teamed you up with. Wait, it would have been Reed.
Yeah, the first year would have been Reed, and that's how I kind of got axed out. Reed was the first year, and then the second year when I was supposed to go to, they were like stick around Yamaha, and then you can move in next year. The next year was James, and then I don't know. I had an agent that was doing everything at the time, and he was telling me stuff that might not have been true actually from Yamaha, but who knows. What I was told is I was supposed to go in the next year. They got James. James wanted Chiz, which was his training partner and his buddy. James got what James wanted. Chiz got ride. I got axed. So it sucks, but it's all over with now. I'm moving on.
So the following year was basically the first year of Moto Concepts as a full-fledged team, I believe, right? 09 for you? Honda's whole year?
Yeah, so 09, I was a Honda amateur guy, and 09, Honda came out with their fuel-injected 450, all new. It was supposed to be just amazing. So I was really excited about it. I'm like, well, screw all this stuff. Like, you know, I don't have a ride. I just started the year as a privateer on a 450 Honda. So I was 17, started the West Coast rounds, thought I knew what I was doing. Clearly very rough. Didn't make a lot of mains. The 09 Honda was just a turd. The thing sucked. Like, I don't know, like, they had all this hype, but the thing was horrible. The fuel injection was okay or whatever, but it was just so slow. Didn't handle very well. Later, of course, they've kind of fixed the problem, but yeah, so I started as a privateer that year, and Moto Concepts had a few guys get hurt, and they needed me, so they ended up picking me up a few rounds in. I finished the Supercross season in outdoors with Moto Concepts. Their first year, but their first year they were learning a lot, and things were a lot different then, and yeah, it's over with.
I think that's funny. You look now, I mean, for riders, legitimately in 09, there was a lot of guys that rode 08s. I know Balby that I was staying with this time would rode 08. Paul's a couple guys did, like, that's...
Close did too, and he was like ripping on it, you know?
Dude.
The 08 was a great bike.
Yeah, but what I think is funny is if you saw somebody, I mean... That doesn't happen. Like, I'm thinking back about riders and even small support teams riding old bike. Like, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I mean, clearly manufacturers don't like it when you ride a year-old bike, or an outdated bike to them. You have to have the newest and the greatest. So I think especially nowadays, the manufacturers really push to not let even privateers or somebody ride a year-old bike. They would probably give them support just to keep them on a new bike out there.
Yeah. So after that, after the Honda year is when became your reign of Arenacross, which is kind of me and you were texting last time. That's the thing I was most interested about, is because it sucks. It's not going to be around next year, but that's where you kind of revived everything for you. How'd you even end up at the end of 09 considering Arenacross? Who approached you, and did you feel like it was the right choice at the time, or were you bummed out that you basically had to go there to keep the career rolling? Or
no, when I went to Arenacross, I 100% believed it was the right choice for me. I actually had some Supercross offers on the table that really didn't pay anything, and I just felt like Arenacross was somewhere I could go revive my career. I knew I could do good there. I believed in the team I would be riding for there, and I felt like it was a realistic goal for me. At the end of 09, I was supposed to have a 2-year deal with Moto Concepts that year. Some wishy-washy stuff happened. They let me go. I believe they were getting 2 riders for basically the same price or even cheaper than having me, so it was just made sense to them to let me go. I was dead broke at the time, didn't have any money to get lawyers or anything like that, so I was like, okay, I'm out, I guess. And so yeah, I left sitting on my hands, didn't know what to do. I mustered up some money, borrowed a bike from somebody, went to US Open that year, so yeah, fall of 09 at US Open, and ended up there. I think got like 5th or 6th on the 250F at U.S. Open, and it was an open class, so it was pretty, like, one of my standout rides. They had like a head-to-head race, and Burner and I went at it when he was on Factory Suzuki or Factory Cowie, and I ended up beating him on a 250, and it was pretty, like, I don't know, it was a big deal to me. So anyway, I had to turn some heads there. I had done Arenacross my whole life growing up, all winter, or every winter growing up, and then my actual rookie year at 15, I did the Buku Arenacross series. And so Denny Bartz was the team manager of Babbitt's, and so I guess still is, Babbitt's Arenacross team, and he called me and, you know, let me know that they would love to have me in Arenacross again if I chose to come back. Like I said, I had some options to go race Supercross, but to me, Arenacross was a realistic goal, and I knew I could go there, win a championship, and I knew it worked out for Darcy Lange at Babbitt's and Arenacross to go to pro circuit. So for my whole goal to go to Arenacross was to revive my career, go there, get good finishes, you know, get in with Cowie and pro circuit, and maybe follow my career that way, which is ultimately where it ended up. It took me 4 or 5 years to do it, but yeah, it's where I ended up going.
Now, those years, let's say, kind of dawned for you 4 straight titles, but they definitely didn't come without issues. Was it 1 or 2 years that you broke your collarbone during Arenacross, had surgery, and basically had to race the next week?
But to get me started on those, everybody asks, like, oh, what title, you know, meant the most to you, or this or that, and every year there was something you had to go through. It was stupid, like it's never easy, and that's why people, you know, sometimes talk about guys that luck into titles in Supercross, Arenacross, anywhere, and I don't believe that. I think even if you quote luck into a title, it was gnarly. Like, if you don't just become a champion, like it's always hard. There's always adversity, and that's how a champion is a champion. In Arenacross, for me, my first year, I was leading. I had like a 27-point lead. We had 2 rounds to go. I crashed during the week, broke both femurs. So that was a pretty shitty day. And, so that one's gone. I still missing the last 2 rounds. I still ended up 3rd in the championship, so it was pretty rad for me. And then come back the next year, which would have been my first title. There was a couple rounds. Ate it, lost the points lead. Another round, I freaking... What were we doing? We were doing Dash for Cash. Ended up eating it, flying through the air. Cracked my... I don't know, what do you call it? The sacrum? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my sacrum was like basically shattered. So I had like this... My tailbone was just destroyed. Wasn't an issue except if I did starts or had to hit the gas coming out of a corner. So like if I sat on the bike on the start, I was fine, but like when the gate dropped and I like hit it, I would roll back to my tailbone and I would just start crying pretty much. It was miserable. So I rode like half the races like that.
So every time you go down the start, sure, everybody hear the bike screaming, and if they could hear you,
you could hear me. Too. Yeah, you could hear me. It was pretty rough. The next year, I got in trouble for an incident that happened in the Dash for Cash, which is interesting because Dash for Cash, it was always no holds barred.
You didn't think there was a rule in Dash?
Yeah, you just kind of send it, and then it was kind of interesting where Dash for Cash ended up affecting my points for the actual season, which was weird because Dash for Cash wasn't a points paying race. It was it was just money from the crowd that you won. It was a weird deal. So I ended up getting fined like 22 points for a Dash for Cash incident, which was just bullshit. Puts me 22 points back from the championship. Had to come back. So that was my second title. Third title, I crashed during the week with my teammate and roommate at the time, Zach Ames. We were doing motos together. He crashed in front of me. I landed on his bike and ate it with him. Broke my collarbone. He's who I'm battling the championship with. Takes me to the hospital the next day to get surgery. And then, crashed on Tuesday, had surgery Wednesday. We're racing Friday, Saturday. That was it. Yeah, just totally shitty deal. And then my final year, the very first round, I crashed and was coming back to the pack and got T-boned by a guy in like 8th or 9th place and broke my ankle. And so I had to race the next night with a broken ankle. And then I had surgery on Monday and then raced, the next weekend and the rest of the series with a broken ankle. I mean, well, I guess it wasn't broken anymore after you bolt it back together. But yeah, so every year it was something. And then couple that with the fact every time I had won a title, they changed the rules. The first year I won a title on a 450 by pretty good ways, wrapped it up a couple rounds before the end. Next year, now we're racing 250Fs only. So, you know, I'm a bigger guy. Clearly 250F is an ideal for me. So I lose a bunch of weight, go race a 250F. The next year they do the thing where they do the inverted start, whatever, second moto, all this crazy stuff. You're drawing out of a briefcase. They do that, and then the final year they do the points reset thing. So it's like every year I just felt like, what?
There was no getting into a groove and no making a formula. It was every year a challenge.
Yeah, it was. Sometimes I felt more like I was racing against the series rather than just the riders. So, which is difficult because everybody thinks like Arenacross was easy for me, but it was. Dude, those guys are gnarly. All of them were so talented, and it's just a different type of racing, and it's a different type of racecraft, and it was every year. I mean, everybody was on it. Jeff Gibson, I raced numerous times, was always, very good, very smart. Even my teammate Zach Ames was always there and always on his A game. Just people, a lot of guys in Supercross don't realize who was amazing in Arenacross and how hard it actually was.
Yeah. That's how it stands out to me as Gibson. He seemed to be really good in the long haul, and the few times like you, he would show up and do some Supercrosses when there was a gap or something. He would do really well at the Supercross ring. He'd always qualify for maybe a top 10 guy. Like, he's a very consistent rider. Yeah,
I mean, Jeff, his Supercross career before he went to Arenacross was pretty good. He had a few years that were rough for him. I think just bad luck and stuff in general. But Jeff was always, growing up in my neck of the woods in Kentucky, Ohio area, Jeff was always just the guy I looked up to, and it was amazing. And then, like I said, in Supercross, he was always just a very talented rider. Supercross and outdoors in general. He rode for, I believe, the Subway Honda team for multiple years, and it was just always really good. So to race against him in Arenacross was flattering, but he never made my job easier by any means.
So I heard a rumor story, something like this. I'm kind of curious about how bonus contracts and stuff worked. I heard when you were at Arenacross, because of your win percentage, it got pretty gnarly for you to get your championship bonus towards the end. Is that true? Like, you had to not only win the title, you had to win like X amount of races or something to get your bonus because your win percentage was so high or something?
Well, yeah,
like that?
I mean, it's kind of like gambling almost. I guess the way they do the bonus, they buy it out of an insurance agency, and then there's odds basically. The insurance companies or agencies that they get it through they don't want to just give the money to anybody. It's an insurance policy basically. So you pay into it, then you get X amount back if it goes one way or the other. And that's what I believe most of the teams do. I never got a championship bonus after my first championship, simply because my first year in Arenacross, where I ended up breaking both femurs, I won I think it was like 7 or 8 races in a row, weekends in a row, and then so the next year my odds of winning were like insanely good. I think they had to get $100,000 back. It was like $10,000 buy-in the first year, and then the next year where I actually got a championship, I think it was like $30,000 to get $100,000 back. But then I also had to win 9 of the total races, and I think what was there 15 or 16 that year. So I had to win 9 of them. So I had to win majority of them, over half the races to even get the bonus. Luckily that year I won 10 in a row. Went on to win 12 of the races total. And then the following year, my percentage was, my odds were so good of winning it that they wouldn't even do the bonus structure. So so I never got a bonus after that. It's kind of interesting, but it was still good to me there.
Yeah, no, I don't think a lot of people know about how those are. I remember hearing about that when it happened. I know, throw it all the way back to Carmichael era when he went to Suzuki. I think the insurance policy was so high, they just paid it directly. They didn't even they couldn't insure, basically couldn't insure the guy. It wasn't going to happen.
And I tried to do that in Arenacross, but there's not as much money in Arenacross as people thought. Like when I came to Supercross, I had teams thinking I was making $300,000-400,000 a year at Arenacross, but it was like, I mean, most guys, pretty much all the guys except me in Arenacross were having a job during the week and then racing Arenacross. And then, I was, my last 2 years I made it into the 6 figures, but that was with everything general, all my race wins, everything during the year. So it was
everything.
So it was very good to me, and I made a living there, but it wasn't as lucrative as people think Arenacross was.
So after that many years of winning titles, finally get the shot to come back over to Supercross. How long of a conversation was that to get with Mitch? Was it kind of a year-by-year basis, so we might have room for you, or kind of how did you bank off of finally getting back into Supercross? And also, along the way, did you turn down any deals waiting for that? Did you have any smaller Supercross teams hitting you up that you were kind of waiting on getting that shot you felt like you deserved?
Well, don't forget that my in with Mitch came from the year I think Dino and Justin Hill got hurt. I wrapped up my Arenacross title, and Dean and Justin got hurt in 12 or 13. Mitch called me to fill in for him for 3 rounds. So that was my in with Mitch. He needed me to fill in. I was already a Cowie monster guy through Arenacross, and so it was just kind of a perfect fit. He told me that he felt like, there was guys that they could have called, but Cowie and Monster both just felt like I'd earned the opportunity, and I was in with them, and I was loyal to them for X amount of years, and it was my turn. So I came in and I ended up winning a race for him. I won Vegas Supercross for the PC team that year as a fill-in. The next year I was trying to go to Supercross, but I had just signed a multi-year deal in Arenacross. It was my first year signing a multi-year deal. So 13, 14, and 15 I was contracted into Arenacross. We couldn't make it happen for 14. But we ended up squaring some things away, and was able to get Babbitt's kindly let me out of my contract for my final year, and Mitch needed a guy, and Cowie and Monster were able to move me over into the PC rig for Supercross in 15 and 16. So that's kind of how I squared it away. It was something, like I said, it was always my ultimate goal to end up back in Supercross, kind of revive my career there. But Arenacross was good to me, and then along the way, I wasn't getting calls. There was no Supercross teams, even little teams that were like, "Hey, let's go hire this guy out of Arenacross." Because when I went into Arenacross, it wasn't a big series. It was kind of where you went to die. Everybody, your career is over. You go to Arenacross. So then it got some more exposure, and it got fluffed a little bit more as I was there. They did the Road to Supercross thing, so you had amateur guys coming through. So my last few years, it was getting a lot more exposure, and people actually started paying more attention to it. So it wasn't until the end where it was really that big of a deal. At the beginning, nobody really cared about it.
So you ended up at Mitch. I remember. I'm trying to think. Your first year, of course, might stand out to people when you came back, being up in the podium position. There was the stuff going on with Webb, whether it be media blow up or just how it was. But the one thing that stands out to me, I'm trying to think if you started the season like this or if it was a mid-year thing. Explain to people why you couldn't touch your toes, why you're wearing flip-flops every day.
Yeah, that was a rough year for me in general. I felt great coming into the season. Started riding September-ish. Started riding on the PC bike. Was doing some testing for them outdoors and stuff, and I'd already signed my deal, so knew I was going to ride for them next year. August. Yeah, August. I had. Yeah, I guess it was September. Anyway, who cares about when it was? Before the season, I ended up tweaking my back one day. And I had back issues growing up. Every now and then I would land funny and tweak it. Never really thought much of it. I thought I could just, take a week off or so and get the inflammation down and it'd be fine. So I took a week off. The next week, mind you, like I said, this was a dream come true for me. Finally got the PC ride. My plan worked. I was there. Didn't want to let anybody down. So the next week it was still hurting, but I decided I was going to ride through the pain and kind of just push it, and it'll iron out. Just totally meathead it, and kept going, and never got any better. A month or so went by, and I was going to the chiropractor, doing all my stuff at Dr. Navarro's, and we were trying to get the inflammation down and try to get it all worked out. And then I said something to him one day, I can't remember what it was, and he was like, "That's a disc issue, bud. Why didn't you bring that up?" I was like, "Oh, I just thought it was my normal back stuff. We just needed to do some therapy on it, whatever." He's like, "Dude." So he sent me for MRI, and was it MRI or CT? Anyway, he sent me for some images, and found out I had spondylolisthesis. So it was a condition where from birth I had 2 vertebrae, my L5, S1. L5 didn't grow the facets completely that kind of connect your spine, that will hold it, the joints basically that hold them all in place where they link together, and so it was able to move slightly. So I was relying on all my skeletal muscle to hold my spine in place at that level. So when I tweaked it, what happened is I got weak and landed, and my skeletal muscle wasn't able to hold it, and it slid forward. So it was now offset 5 millimeter, and in the process, I also bulged the disc. And so when you do that, all the like tunnels and pathways that your nerves run through, now you got 2 holes that are not lined up. So instead of having a, let's say, 10 millimeter hole for your nerves to run through, basically your wiring, now you have a 5 millimeter hole for your nerves to run through.
It's all pinched.
So now you're pinched off. And then I had a bulging disc on top of that pressing into the hole too. So, you know, if you got 10 millimeter cord here and then you pinch it off to 5 and then you do another 3 with your bulging disc, now you're just, everything's holding onto your wiring there. So, yeah, it was a sciatica pain, you know, in my left glute, and it gradually got worse. I was trying to ride through. It was, you know, right before the season. I was like, I can't just whatever. I can't sit out the season. I got to race. And I tried to work through it. I knew ultimately I was going to end up having back surgery if the therapy didn't work out, which it didn't. And I did have to get back surgery. So it started in the left glute, got down to the knee, having the pain, went down the front of my left shin, and then eventually got to the point where my toes, I couldn't feel my toes, and I couldn't lift my foot. And that was the ultimate, like, where we axed. I was at Houston Supercross. I'd take a lot of time off before Houston Supercross, and was going to just that was the first time riding, and it was like almost a whole month of off the bike and nothing but therapy on it. And I just tried to race at Houston, and I couldn't shift right. I was stomping on the shifter, couldn't feel my toes.
I was going to say, how do you even up? You just kind of lifted your foot under and tried to grab it?
Yeah, I was just grabbing stuff. And I mean, like I said, I couldn't feel the top of my foot, so I didn't really know what I was doing. So, yeah, it's something that's kind of second nature to us. But, yeah, I just was misshifting and stomping on the shifter and missing the peg and stuff. And Mitch was like, dude, you're done. Like, you can't ride like this. So, yeah, that was the end of it for me. And I opted to get back surgery. As soon as they can get me in was right after Vegas Supercross, so I kind of waited around to get the surgery then. Yeah, so it was pretty miserable. If anybody that's ever had sciatica pain knows it's fucking horrible. Like, I couldn't, like, breakfast in the mornings was absolutely miserable. The mornings were the worst for me. I had nights where it hurt so bad, and I was trying not to take the pain meds because, you know, they're highly addictive, and that's such a story in moto and in just people in general with back injuries. You know, you get on the pain meds and you just can't get off them. So I was trying to stay away from as much as I could. So there was nights where I was in pain and didn't want to take those, so I just didn't sleep. I was laying in bed staring at the ceiling till 3 or 4 in the morning, and I was like, well, fuck it, I guess I'm just going to get up and start my day again. And, you know, 5 a.m., I'm back on the rower doing my morning warm-up, and just, you know, I had multiple days at the track where I just didn't sleep at night. So running my system like that was just stupid, you know, and I just ran myself in the ground so hard. I ended up with Epstein-Barr virus just from that. I mean, I guess I had it in my system, but I had the chronic fatigue from that, just being a meathead and just running myself into the ground. So it was a pretty rough year. You know, it started with a back injury and just me meatheading it through it, you know, into the season. And the next thing you know, I have Epstein-Barr virus, so I have a whole 8 months of nothing. I wasn't training, wasn't riding, I could barely walk. You know, it's a pretty rough year. Yeah, 15 to 16 was a good year. I'd like to forget, but, you know, not a lot of people realize that that's what you go through. So going into 16, I had literally zero training. I started riding again into December, and I'm still dealing with some of the Epstein-Barr stuff. And yeah, that was a really rough year. I couldn't do more than 5 laps on a Supercross track. I felt like I was going to die. And so, what I ended up that year? I think I ended up 5th again in the East Coast that year. But it was all super rough, and that was my last year at PC. I'm healthy now and I feel good, and everybody's like, oh, what, you had a good year last year? Well, yeah, I'm healthy and I'm not freaking dying half the time, so it's kind of amazing what you can do when you're somewhat healthy.
Yeah. Hey, we're taking a quick break from our chat with Tyler Bowers to thank the people that make this podcast happen and allow us to bring you great guests with every episode. From tubes and tires to MX jerseys, gear bags, hard parts, and a huge selection of dirt bikes, Shop Our Motorsports has everything you need to keep you roosting the track or trail. Check out shopmoto.com. Also, since 1968, Thor MX has been supporting some of the world's most elite racers, including the 2018 250 Pro Motocross champion Aaron Plessinger. Head to thormx.com to see the racewear that Aaron and the rest of the Star Racing Yamaha team trust day in and day out. Now let's jump back into our conversation. Hope you all enjoy.
Yeah.
So you come out of the PC thing, ultimately you end up having to ride for 5150 for the year, but prior to that, was it just after the injury stuff, people not understanding what you went through, was there just no options on the table, or?
Yeah, I literally had no offers. Like, nobody made me an offer. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. Looking back on it, I think I should have been a privateer the next year on a 450, but I was a little bit scared. I hadn't been a privateer for a while. I hadn't really run my own program. I didn't really know what I was going to do, so I just took the 5150 deal, knowing I had a team behind me, and it was a little rough there. Like I said, I had no offers, so I made that happen, and then we came into last year, and I got my own stuff together and did the privateer deal this last year.
So speaking of the privateer deal, it's kind of where yours worked out. I mean, you definitely set up your own program. You end up as a fill-in at Cowie. We're actually sitting at the Cowie track today. You're helping with a little bit of testing, and I think that's what you've spent part of your summer doing. So testing is a gig, per se, for Supercross and motocross. You know, teams have their riders, but they're busy on their set schedule. In this case, Kawasaki has a new bike. You have a good relationship with the team. You as a test rider, do you feel like you've always been pretty decent, or is there a certain point where you felt like you learned a lot from somebody to be able to set up bikes and know more just about, other than it's too stiff or too soft?
I don't think as a test rider it's our job to set up bikes. It's our job to relay information. So I think I've always had a good feel, even as an amateur. I've always had a feel on bikes, and wasn't just a guy that could just ride anything and just come back and, I don't know, so I could always feel the bike and then relay the information to the correct people. I think people get confused especially rookies, when they come in. I've seen guys at PC, for instance, where they come in and they try to come up with the answer to give Bones, or to give the engine guy or the suspension guy. It's not your job to come up with the answer. You just got to relay what you're feeling, and then they figure it out and they interpret it and they fix the bike. So
honesty is better than just trying to make an answer just to sound smart.
Absolutely, because there's times you come off and you're like, I don't feel anything, and they're like, well, that's good, because you weren't supposed to. This was just like literally just a stronger version of that part, or this was a part that's not going to fail, so yeah, exactly. Honesty is way better than trying to sound smart and coming up with the answer for the guys. So I think, yeah, I've just always had a good feel. I think as a rookie and first starting out, my career as a professional was so young. I think a lot of guys didn't give me that respect, because you're a rookie and they just assume all rookies don't know what the hell they're talking about. But now I've been around for a good 11 years almost now, 10 years as a pro. I think I'm a seasoned vet, and people actually listen to some of the things I say. I enjoy the process. I think that was another thing, is a lot of riders don't enjoy the testing. They want to just go out and do their laps and the racing. I think even if we just spend all day in the thing, like we don't put any of the parts that we tried on the bike like at the end. I think it's awesome to be able to ride it and notice how materials and structure and everything just change the feel of the bike. Just anything in general. It's just the whole process to me is just amazing. I love it. So yeah, like you said, this summer, Cowie had the new 19450 coming out, and the race team needed some R&D work behind it. But they were busy winning a championship with Eli outdoors, and then Josh was hurt, so they didn't have anybody to ride it and kind of develop it. So just so happened I was sitting around and just riding for this summer, and they could use me, and it was a dream come true for me, like I said, because I really enjoy the process and enjoy working with the guys on the team. So to be able to test and kind of develop this bike for them and just be the guinea pig, which is a little bit scary at times, but it was cool just to kind of see what we needed to add to this bike to make it race ready, which was really surprising, because our bike's pretty close to stock right now. We basically put an exhaust on it, some suspension, and we're ready to roll. So this 19 Cowie is just amazing out of the box.
That's got to be cool, though, if you ever, at any point in your career, whether you have to do privateer yourself or you go to Europe and race weird bikes at German Supercross, knowing the amount you know now about bikes and testing and setup probably makes you a little more comfortable on weird situations like that.
Sometimes it sucks, because you can be guys like Nick Way will probably tell you, you get out there in the heat race and you made a change right before the race or something, and you're like, oh dude, I went 2 clicks in the wrong direction, and it can get in your head and you think your whole race is screwed just because you're a little bit soft. But yeah, you gotta be able to. I have to work really hard at telling myself, dude, like, there's guys that can ride anything fast. So just like, you know, like you can make this thing ideal and you can also adapt to what you got here. So, sometimes it bites you in the ass because you, like I said, you're thinking about it all the time, but sometimes it's better for sure.
Yeah, I think that's hard. Some of the best test riders can affect the racing because you kind of think the whole time you're on the bike, you can get frustrated. Oh, if I would have done this 3 clicks this way, I would be so much better right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
I remember asking Carmichael one time what his thought was going to NASCAR, and he said the hardest thing about driving a NASCAR versus motocross is, you know, same thing, even though he learned a lot about testing more later in his career, is he was the kind of guy on a track that would just make it work as long as the bike worked at like 70% of track. He goes, in a car, you can't do that. You have to make the right change. He goes, you're stuck in the seat. You really can't throw your weight around and make the car magically work better. So, speaking of the German stuff, because you've done a little bit of that going overseas, do you enjoy doing much of that still, actually, the overseas races? And what, I guess, to put it bluntly, is what's the most interesting one you've ever had to go do?
Well, I did the ADAC series over in Germany. I won the championship last year. I did it 2 years, so it was like 12 and 13 when I raced Arenacross. It's cool because you can go over in the fall and get some gate time and you kind of fill your time in. It's not as lucrative as like these big races like Paris and the big one-off race Paris and Geneva and stuff like that, but it's the place for the small names to go and make a little money and get some seat time and some gate time, and it's wild. It's absolutely nuts. Like, the tracks are a lot different for sure. The dirt is like super glue. Like, there's almost no roost because it's so tacky. Like, it's insane. Like, and then the jumps are a little bit more like sight bike-ish. It's kind of like an Arenacross track on steroids. Everything's like tight like Arenacross, but everything's really peaky and pretty gnarly. Lots of option sections. And the riders are no joke. Like, you know, all the French over there, everybody. Last year in the German series, German rider Dominic Turi was freaking giving me everything I could handle all the way up to the end. It's pretty gnarly over there. It's just a lot different than Supercross over here. For instance, Cedric Sobreras last year just handed it to me in Stuttgart, and like I had nothing for him. And then he comes over to the U.S. this year, and like it wasn't a big deal for me to, you know, beat Cedric. So it's just different racing over there. The guys over there are really talented at what they do. I think the gnarliest one, I don't know, because all of them are pretty gnarly. Like, Dortmund's the final one. Last year was the first year I did Dortmund. It's the same weekend as like our second or third round here in the U.S.
Is that the 3-night rate? Like,
yeah, it's 3 nights of racing, and it's pretty gnarly, especially when you fly there you fly in on a Thursday. Well, you fly on Wednesday, you get there Thursday, you race Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you're already jet lagged from like the 9-10 hour time difference, and then you're just running on coffee the whole time, and then at night you're up all night because it's daylight here and you just can't figure out your sleep schedule, and then you're racing 3 nights in a row, and then there's a lot of racing involved. There's like bracket racing, there's
pole position,
there's pole position stuff. It's gnarly. So.
I would say doing it one night's got to be one thing, but if by the time you get to Sunday and you're probably gone 3 days without sleep and you freaking drank so much coffee, you're jittery as hell on the starting line.
Your kidneys hurt. Like, it's like legit. Like last year I was like, dude, my kidneys are sore. I need to back off the coffee a little bit. You know, it's pretty gnarly. And you know, for me, like doing Arenacross, most of them were 2-nighters, and so like I was like, 2-nighters, no big deal. Like, one more night, how bad could it be, dude? Like the third night, I was like, I am so over dirt bikes. I'm like ready to get out of here. But I enjoy going over there, especially, you know, in the fall. They usually have the Christmas markets going on. You can walk around, get some hot wine, eat some bratwurst. It's a pretty good time for me.
The funny one is the dirt comment, because I've heard that from Nick and a couple other guys. They're like, dude, you feel like a cornering god while you're there, and then if you come back and ride, I'm sure for you come back and ride like K2, and it's like a whole different world.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you get there and it's like the dirt is so tacky. Like, I remember my first year there, I ended up eating it in a rhythm, just because like if you land with your front tire even just like a slight bit crooked, like next thing you're just going off into left field. Like, dude, you swerve so hard in the rhythms, and that makes it a little bit sketchy because off the starts and stuff, you know, like it's tight quarters and people are kind of banging into each other, and like things happen, and dudes, next thing you know, they just take a hard left or a hard right and like clip everybody's front wheel off the jump. But it's not because they're sketchy, it's just because the dirt's literally so tacky. If you get a little bit off, you're going that direction. I remember going, like I said, my first year there, getting there, and I heard how grippy it was, this and that, and I remember riding practice and looking at the track, not getting any roost because there was no like dirt actually being able to flick off the track, and then looking at the track and you could see all the knobby marks, and I equate it to like if you've ever like amateur racing or racing in general, or if you've ever been on the track after like the 50s or like the P-dubs especially ride, because they don't throw any roost, they just pack down the track, so you see all these little knobby marks everywhere from the P-dubs. It's like that. Like you get there and there's just knobby marks all over the track, and there's not really any ruts. There's kind of like some wavy stuff, but it's just knobby marks everywhere because everybody's just sticking so well.
Where's the racing, in your experience, more aggressive? Arenacross here, or those overseas races?
Well, you can't piss off the French mafia overseas. Like if you get one French guy mad at you over there, you're screwed, because there's like 10 French riders we call them the French mafia. They're all very smart, very sneaky, and they like team up for sure.
So if you take one, you've got hit out on you for the next couple rounds.
Yeah, you're screwed. Like, yeah, so I just don't even mess with those guys, you know. And they will outsmart you. They're like cats, man. They're like, no matter what, they got you. So, but Arenacross here was never that gnarly. Like, yeah, we ran into each other and this and that, but it was tight quarters and it was expected, but there was a certain respect about it up until my last like year or two there, when the amateur guys had to like start coming through, and then a lot of the old Supercross guys were coming in. People had this hype around it that it was Arenacross and you had to kill each other, and that made it really sketchy because the respect was gone and there was just like more T-boning going on. So probably
I'm just picturing Hayes versus Regal right now.
Absolutely. No, that's exactly like when Hayes came in, like, I was like, dude, are you serious? Like, they're like, okay, cool. Now we're both down. Like, sweet, cool. We're at last, both of us. Like, now we're both screwed. Good luck with that, you know. And it was just like growing up racing Arenacross. Like I said, we ran into each other and this and that, and there was always a respect about it because you knew if you clean a guy out and if you stayed up, guess what? You probably have to lap him in like a lap or two, and he's probably going to clean you out as a lapper. So, or he's going to see you next week and he's going to do the same. It was always really close. And when the amateur guys started coming in, it got no holds barred. It was gnarly. So I think Arenacross here was definitely dirtier.
Well, I picture like you, Gibson, Ames, guys that did for a long time. And watching you guys race, you were really good at, of course, carrying each other right up to the top edge of the track to slow that guy down, but not center punch going in. You had a lot more, I guess, creativity with the aggressive. And then I go to what you're talking about now, and I just see guys jump straight into a bowl corner, head on, not even trying to turn.
Yeah. Like there's no reason if I'm coming out of the corner and you're going in that we should like make contact.
Make front tire, full. It looks like a head-on situation.
Like your radiator's going opposite directions and they're hitting. Like it's just stupid. And I think also like us that were racing across forever and we're used to it, we could bump in a corner, like make a pass bumping a guy, like hit knees and whatever, hit bikes and make contact and not like freak out about it. But like some of the guys that were coming in, they would you know, you'd make contact or something and then they would just see red, and next thing you know, like 2 turns later the guy's landing on your back, you know, because he thinks you tried to dirty him, when really there's just, the berms are 3 feet tall. There was not that much room in Arenacross. You had to like bump a little bit to get by each other.
For you, do you have something that stands out between either those races, US Supercross or Arenacross? What's the worst you've been like dirtied? Is there a standout?
I don't know. Barsha got me pretty good in Vegas this year. I didn't go down, but it was one of those, I was coming out of the corner and he was going in. But I've also had instances like Troy Adams back in the day. I pissed him off one year on a 450 and he tried to kill me. And then I remember I was like 17 or something, and we came off the track and he wanted to fight, and I was yelling at him. And come to think about it, and glad I didn't, because he was a lot bigger than me and a lot older than me and a lot tougher than me at the time.
How often do you have to say somebody's bigger than you?
Not too often, but I think Troy had me handled that year for sure. And like I said, I was 17 and I thought I was all, you know, gnarly, but yeah, he was a grown man. He would have killed me. So yeah, I don't know. I've had numerous occasions. Wharton got me one year in Supercross when I filled in. That was pretty bad.
Was that when he was on Suzuki?
Yeah, he was on Suzuki.
I remember he was really, that couple races he came back, he was
yeah, he was running into
He said he had gotten punched around the lot the year before, and he went pretty gnarly on a few dudes.
Yeah. I got freezed one year at X Games, was pretty good. Yeah, same thing, you know, coming out of a corner and he's going in. I don't know. I do it too sometimes, so I can't like, I don't like throw a big fit, you know, you got to be able to take it. So yeah, I try not to pay too much attention.
Didn't you get A-Ray really good once this year, thinking he was someone else or something?
Yeah, I hit A-Ray, but it was because I went down to the sand, and I don't know, he was telling everybody, I thought he was Barsha, which was weird because at the time, like, me and Barsha had no beef. So yeah, I don't know. That guy's kind of a weird dude. But I went down in the sand prior to that, and my goggles were completely fucking full of sand. It was first lap off the start, and I just got covered in sand. So when I went to the next corner, I was going towards the berm, and he was like kind of off by the mechanics area, and he like went to the inside where the main line was, but I was just cruising going to the berm. I just freaking cleaned him. We both went down. He's all pissed. I'm all pissed. It's like I crashed twice in the matter of 50 feet, so it was like, it was a pretty bad day for me. Yeah, but he was telling everybody I thought it was partial, which was kind of weird. That guy's a weird duck.
What last one, we'll let you get to your testing for the day. What do you see for yourself going forward? Like, what's is the goal for you? Do you think there's a future in you building your own program, doing all the off-season races? Do you think it's fill in and eventually get back on a team? Like, what motivates you basically getting up in the morning to keep doing this?
Yeah, I got a kid. She motivates me the most now. You know, I gotta
make that diaper money.
Yeah, I gotta mouth to feed. But in a different sense, like people think that, you know, you just think you've got to work harder because you have a kid, but it's just different motivation, I guess. I have a reason to wake up every day, and then I come to the track, and this is my job. This is what I do. I'll be a privateer again this year with Trigger Racing, and probably on Cowies again, and just support from Cowie, and yeah, fill in if somebody needs me. But yeah, I'll go do the German races again this fall. I'm going to Paris again for Bud Racing, so similar to what I did last year, and just try to stay healthy and stay ready. The ultimate goal, of course, is land a factory ride and have everything taken care of pretty nicely. But there is also
not have to build your own KX500 for straight rhythm.
Yeah, the KX500 thing wasn't for straight rhythm. I was building a KX500 because I wanted a KX500. I bought it from a guy in Denver, and the thing was ready to go right away, and that's why I bought that one. It was in very good shape. The guy does all original bikes, and I love that thing. I wanted to get it and enjoy it while I kind of acquired some parts for it, updated the suspension and this and that. And then the guys at Straight Rhythm got a hold of me and said I could race it there if I wanted to. And the Straight Rhythm thing only came about because it was a PR thing, basically. I think going to Straight Rhythm gets enough PR where the people that are helping me out with the bike get more love. So I only agreed to do Straight Rhythm because I want to give the people that are helping me out the most exposure I can. And so Straight Rhythm is there. What sucks about it is I had a very good all-original 500, like was ready to ride, and I rode it one time and then took it all apart. So bike's in a million pieces right now. I feel horrible about it. I should have bought a basket case right off the bat and just start piecing it together. But it's cool. It's pretty fun to be able to build my own bike, or I say build my own bike. I have my hands in it. It's my project, but there's a lot of people helping me out. Behind the scenes, of course. Because if I built my own bike, it would probably fall apart. Actually, it wouldn't fall apart. I would just break off all the bolts because I'm pretty well known for that.
Or Donk.
Yeah, Donk hates me. Strip all the bolts and snap all the heads off.
Well, you have a good day, man. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.